The future of TV. It will be disruptive, outside the box, on the cutting edge of the cutting edge. Inspired by synergy and innovation.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think the future of TV would just, combine your favorite things, like live TV, on-demand titles, and access to Netflix and HBO in one place, with like a voice remote that lets you find everything easily. I mean, that's what AT&T did.
Who invited you into my commercial?
Oh, I'm sorry, I let myself in. Yeah, the door was unlocked.
Find the things you love with a single voice command. Introducing AT&T TV. That's televisionary. Visit att.com/TV. Available in select areas. Requires high-speed internet. Recommend minimum 8 megabits per second per stream for optimal viewing. Limit 3 concurrent AT&T streams. Netflix and HBO subscriptions required. Restrictions apply.
New Hampshire reminds me of Chris Matthews, I'll tell you what. Many years ago when I started in New York City, Bernie and I would go on all these remotes with Imus. And we did a lot in the Northeast, New Hampshire, Boston, the real Northeast. And we would do these remotes from like ski places and hotels. And at the time, we worked at MSNBC with Chris Matthews. And Chris was always so cool to Bernie and I. So even though we do differ often philosophically and politically, to this day, both Bernie and I have nothing but really good things to say about the host of Hardball on MSNBC. And he's got a huge show coming your way tonight. Here he is, friend for a long time, the great Chris Matthews. Chris, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Nice build-up. Remember, we found a ski resort in New Hampshire called Fitzgerald.
Yes.
It sounds like a bar. and we went up there, and there was nobody around because it was at nighttime. And we hired some guy. I paid these kids to play frisbee in the snow. There'd be any human activity up there while we were up there covering the primary.
Yeah, that's right. It was the primary. I'll tell you something else. You don't know this, Chris. But the very first TV opportunity I ever got as a guest was on your show. You had me in New York City. You had my dear friend, the great sports radio guy, JT the Brick, out in California, and we were arguing about Pete Rose. Do you remember that?
It sounds like a good an argument we can have forever. Yeah. Probably, yes. What's the Hall of Fame question?
Yes,
yeah.
It was the Hall of Fame way back when. Well, listen, tonight you've got my great buddy Anthony Scaramucci on with the Mooch with Omarosa, and I'm gonna fill you in on something here, Chris. Okay?
All right, listen.
I am trying to convince my guy Mooch to primary President Trump, and I think he may even do it. Maybe. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a show, I mean, I think there's nobody else going to do it. This Bill Weld guy's not going to do anything. He's the former governor of Massachusetts. He's running, but I don't know. It's 90% for Trump. 89%, 90% almost every poll. I mean, it's pretty solid, Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love. And this guy's got it lined up for him. I've never seen anything like it,
Well, you never seen anything like it, and it's true. I was talking to Bill O'Reilly yesterday, and I tried to compare 1968 to what we've got today in terms of the actual hatred. Forgetting about, who loves him and doesn't. All of the, in the streets, people are so angry, and Bill said, no, it's never been like this before. And two of the people that used to love Donald Trump, and he loved them, Omarosa and Scaramucci, both of those relationships with President Trump have gone completely south, and both of them are on your show tonight. So what's the angle?
Well, the angle is that this kind of love him and leave him kind of thing. You get relationships that are based upon, it seems like, Trump is a very charming guy when you're with him. I mean, he really is, and he's very likable. And as long as you're on the team and everything's going together and you're rowing together, everything's fine. But the minute there's a problem, it's like the end of the earth, like the worst guy ever had. There's no middle ground with Trump, I guess, is to say it. You don't have halfway friends with him. Either with him or you're not. And the minute you're not with him 100%, you're his enemy. You're 100% enemy. It's the way he is with people. And I guess it's pretty scary when you go from being the guy, you're on his love team, and then all of a sudden you're the worst person in the world. It's probably pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, Mooch
is up to it. He's a street corner guy. I mean, I think he loves it. I mean, he loves it. it's not like the worst thing happened to him to go into a street fight.
No, listen, in fact, the complete opposite. You're right, Chris. A couple days ago, people were like, oh, man, Mooch is really done. The guy couldn't have been happier. It was great for business. He's being mentioned everywhere. The president is tweeting him himself. He does love this type of stuff. Let me ask you this. By
the way, don't you think Scarborough likes this? I mean, this kind of fighting is almost like... It's almost like professional wrestling.
It is. He's
got a foreign object in his hand.
You're right. So Chuck Todd is on the show every Friday. Chuck and I have been friends for a very, very long time. And one of the things I like about Chuck is he may not do this on MSNBC or NBC, but at least on my shows between Miami and now back here in New York, Chris, he does find time every now and then to almost say nice things about Trump. It's not a complete indictment of the president like it is on television every single day. Can you do that?
It's a black and white world. I mean, we're just talking about friendship and enemies. It's like in politics today, it's very hard. You know, I say things like, I say he's charming in person. Well, I'm here for that, but that's the fact. And, personally, people want you to hate everybody. That's the way everybody's supposed to. You're supposed to hate the other guy. If Trump turned around tomorrow and did things that he thought he ought to be doing, I think it'd be great. Last time I said, why don't you start building? Building. You promised to be a builder. You promised to clean up Penn Station in New York and LAX Airport. You're going to rebuild the whole country. We got all these tape. You were going to do that. Instead, you gave tax cuts to the rich people, the corporations. Why don't you still try to rebuild this country? I mean, I think that's what the economy needs, is a kick in the butt. And the way to do it is to start building and fixing things. And, it's hard to do it. You got to pay for this stuff too, And, but I think I think there was a couple of things he ran on that I thought were really good on no more stupid wars, and we were going to rebuild this country. Well, he's avoided wars so far, but the rebuilding part he's just skipped completely. I think it's McConnell doesn't want to do anything. But.
Right, that's the problem. He's trying to get money for infrastructure from Congress. He can't get help. Tonight with Mooch and Omarosa, there are a lot of folks that really don't like her. She was on this show, actually, Chris, and it ended really ugly with her and Bernard. But, look, the fact is she was a nobody. Ended up on Apprentice, became a big star. Donald Trump gave her a job in the White House. For some reason, Kelly didn't like her, somebody didn't like her, and she got fired. And she made a really big deal on the way out and said some terrible things about the guy that gave her a career and a life. People don't like that.
I agree.
Oh, really?
We'll see tonight. We'll bring those things up tonight. How much of this is enemies of convenience, like friends of convenience? Friendship of convenience. Have you heard of that? How about enemies of convenience? It's this. Some of this stuff goes back to I'm not that old, but I remember things like Jack Benny would have these in the old days. Would have these rivalries,
Yep.
on the radio, and it was all part of this whole shtick. We don't like each other, and so that's part of the show too. I think she's enjoying it. I think she comes on. She's always nice to come on our show. She comes on and she's got her guys come on. They take her picture. She's got a little bit of an entourage.
Yep. She does a good job with you. I've seen her on your show many times.
She's very show busy with her, and she's attractive, obviously. And she comes on. She's great for television. And Mooch, I went to school with guys like Mooch. These guys are street corner guys. They love to fight. I just tell my kids I'm in Philly. I'm getting off the subway in Philly at my grandparents' house in North Philly. By the way, about 2 blocks from where there's 5 or 6 cops were shot the other day. So I live about 2 blocks from that neighborhood. And the Italian kid gets up to me on the subway tracks, and he's going, you cut up my mother. You cut up my mother. I go, what? What are you talking about? You cut up my mother. What kind of sign language? What are you talking about? He's going to South Philly with a big crowd of kids around me. I'm going to the wrong school as far as he's concerned. And I finally get off at the Hunting Park subway stop. And anybody from Philly knows what I'm talking about. And I was so glad. But I always tell my kids, what kind of these strange kind of tribal fights you get into in a big city? And you go, did I get into this fight? I was just in the wrong neighborhood. That's what happened.
Every time I talk to you, Chris, the great Chris Matthews, check him out tonight, 7 o'clock, MSNBC, Hardball, Anthony Scaramucci, and Omarosa stopping by. We become very friendly on this show, Chris, with Darrell Hammond. And and every time he's here, he does the Chris Matthews. It's a lot better than Alec Baldwin's Donald Trump. So you got to forgive me for chuckling every now and then, because as you're talking to me, I envision Darrell doing you. What do you think about his impression?
Oh, I thought he was great. What a good guy, too. And I thought his Trump was really a lot richer than Baldwin's. I mean, Baldwin played him as a villain. But Daryl's imitations of people get to their soul. I mean, he really captures some. His Bill Clinton, I thought, was just unbelievable. Yep. He was like the guy that likes girls and he likes hamburgers, cheeseburgers. I mean, he seemed to know who this guy was. Look at his eye, this delight of his appetites, the delight in his appetite for everything. And he just captured the guy. And you look into his eyes, and it's him. And every time people say, how do you like his imitation? I said, well, if it's anything like his imitation of Clinton and anything like his imitation of Trump, great, because it's very hard to see yourself as a cartoon. I mean, right. I remember these guys used to do Johnny Carson, it was very hard to do, but they would get him.
Yep.
That strange kind of cool personality of the guy.
Yep. Two more we'll let you run. Chris Matthews, Hardball. Give me, in your estimation, as we get ready for the third debates coming up, second week of September, we've lost the great John Hickenlooper. Sorry to hear he's backed out. Give me the person right now, that you think has done the best job. Not the person that may win, but the person you think has done the best job.
Well, on two fronts. One is, first of all, Elizabeth Warren, if you look at the polls, and they've been consistent, and it's like every 2 weeks, look at the polls, she's come up a couple points. She's been eating Bernie's line, not Bernie, she's been taking Bernie's lines, just taking away. His numbers go down, she's going up. So on the left in the Democratic Party, and you look at all the polls, she wins the hard left. The most left wing, she wins. So she keeps going up. I think she's going to eventually, the latest poll we got last week, or actually 2 days ago, she's up there tied basically with Biden now. The third person out there is Kamala. Kamala does well in the debate. She did better in the first and the second debate. Kamala can be scary. She's when you meet her, she's got a lot of personality. She's likable. You're not supposed to say that. She's likable. Yeah. And the television debate, she's very tough.
Well, you don't think that Tulsi Gabbard just killed her that last debate?
Yeah. She was used to offense. She wasn't used to defense. Right. And all of a sudden, Tulsi hits her from the left.
Right.
And I'm thinking, wow, what's Tulsi up to? Is she going for the California primary? She's from Hawaii. Is that a plan? Also, Julian Castro went after her too. I think they're all duking it out for Super Tuesday with California and all those other states, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Texas, all vote the same day. This is the way I see it right now. It looks like Elizabeth's going to win Iowa. If she wins Iowa, she can win New Hampshire. She gets both of them in a row. Then she could win in Nevada.
Yep.
Then she gets beaten in South Carolina by maybe not Biden by then. If he's in real trouble, he may not win that. Kamala might win that one. It looks to me like if Biden doesn't get some juice, if he doesn't get some performance, whatever it is, he's going to lose in Iowa and then keep losing. And then Kamala will come in as the challenger to Elizabeth. I think that's the way it looks right now. It seems to be relentless, and I'm not sure this is the best team either to go against Trump, because Trump has not been doing well lately. He's been going too far in the race thing, way too far. It's not just a fight. It's like it seems like, why is he saying this stuff?
I agree. Yeah.
And I think it's just going to turn off those women in the suburbs, and I think the African American vote in the big cities is going to come out big. I mean, I grew up in a city where the African American vote really registered and showed up to vote. Not so much they liked somebody as they hated a guy named Frank Rizzo, the police commissioner, was mayor. And so Trump may be running up his numbers in the big city against him. It's going to be very hard to offset in the rural areas in Pennsylvania and places like that. But you know what? He's going to be always on the attack, really on the attack. It's going to be going after her again and for her Indian identification.
Yep, that's going to be tough on her.
He's going to do that over and over again.
Yeah, it's going to work, by the way.
It works because it's true.
Yeah. 60 seconds to go. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Bill O'Reilly yesterday. I learned more, Chris, about Bobby Kennedy by reading your books than I knew before. I mean, you do a great job. You really do with Bobby Kennedy. O'Reilly says it's worse now than 68. It's worse now than ever because of the hate for President Trump. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think I was talking to somebody the other day who's sort of a veteran of the Nixon era, and I was too, as a younger guy. I think, first of all, Trump accomplishes one big thing that Nixon couldn't do. You can't meet a guy at a bar, at a bus stop, walking down the street without the word Trump. I've never seen a person dominate the conversation like Trump does. Even Nixon couldn't do that. Nixon wasn't in our head every 15 seconds. This guy is. And I don't know what that domination is going to be like in a general election. I just don't know how a guy can be that dominant. and lose. But,
we'll
it's
see.
going to be all about Trump, I think.
I agree.
Never seen.
Hey, we're going to watch tonight Omarosa and my buddy Anthony
By the way,
Scaramucci.
Nixon had a conscience. Nixon was ashamed of what he did.
True.
I think Nixon had a conscience. He said, I blew it. I blew it.
Trump rebels everything that he does. Everything. He loves it.
That's right. It's a difference.
You're great. I'll watch it tonight, buddy. Thank you, Chris.
Guys. Thank you so much.
All right. The great Chris Matthews. Check him out tonight, 7 o'clock. Hardball, MSNBC.